In this lecture, we are going to step away from WordPress to discuss another feature of PHP. For future reference, I will be marking lectures as PHP lectures to help you identify them. I won't be teaching anything groundbreaking related to PHP. Most of it is fundamentals. So if you are comfortable with PHP, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Otherwise, let's get into it. There's another feature of functions we've overlooked. We can return values from a function. As we've learned, functions are blocks of reusable code. Code written inside a function is isolated from outside code. What if we want to grab data from within a function? One solution would be to return data. Let's look at an example. In your editor, open the test.php file. You should be able to find this file in the root directory of your WordPress installation. This file was created to experiment with PHP features. We're revisiting it to discuss return values. Inside the PHP tags, let's remove the existing code. For this demonstration, I'm going to define a function for adding two values. Define a function called sum. It'll have two arguments, a and b. The purpose of this function will be to add two numbers. The numbers can be customized through the function's argument list. Inside the function, we can add numbers with the addition operator. PHP supports basic mathematical operations. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a link to the documentation page for arithmetic operators. We can add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers. It's all supported in PHP. You can read through the documentation for the various operators. Let's go back to our editors. Inside the function, we're adding the values, but they're not accessible outside the function. What if we need these values? We can grab the sum by adding the return keyword at the beginning of the statement. The return keyword plays a special role. The value written after it will be returned by the function, thus allowing it to be accessible. Let's try using our function to fully understand how it works. Below the function, create a variable called total. The value for this function will be the sum function with two random numbers. PHP will add the numbers. The result will be returned by the function. The return value of the function will be the value for the variable. Let's echo the total variable. Lastly, let's check out the browser. As a reminder, the file can be accessed by typing test.php after the URL. On the page, the total has been rendered. We were able to access the value from the function by returning it. Returning values can be useful if you want the result stored for future use. Functions are not required to return values. It's completely optional. There's one more thing I want to mention. Let's head back to the editor. If you return a value, PHP will stop running the function. For example, let's say we try to echo a message after the return statement. The user will never see this message. PHP will cease execution after the value has been returned. This is important to note down. If you want to perform additional logic, it should be performed before returning the value. This information is going to be helpful in the next lecture. Let's get back into WordPress.